Uh,
Okay.
nah, I just run with things.
When we're running, we're live.
That's it. We're live. So this is how Mike does things. Annie has a migraine, so Annie is out of commission tonight. So again, I am filling in for her because apparently I helped her create everything. So I'm here because no one knows it better than me and her. So it's a good fill-in. And we'll see if Sid makes an appearance tonight because I don't know. My oldest is now out of the room, so I'm sure Sid will sneak out. It's just the way this works. So we do the breath framework here. We talk about the soul center experience because the breath framework, we have coined the phrase that it brings people to their soul center. So this is the journey that Annie and I have taken, and we basically replicate it into a teachable manner. It's B for begin where you are, R for reclaim your power, E for excavate your core values. Hate that word. And then we have A for allow, which I ended up doing on Thursday. And we have T for through, which is tonight with Jennergy. And then we have H for healing or heal, which I'm doing on Thursday again. Somehow I'm doing this show more than Annie now. I don't know how this worked out for her.
I gotta talk to her, see how she.
I'm telling you, she has well-timed migraines. I guess it's interesting.
Interesting.
But, very very well planned.
Down, crack it.
It's I'm telling you, it's very well planned by Annie here.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I can't.
She's a smart woman.
Yes, it is. It is, right? So I have Jennergy, which we've been connected for a while, and we have never spoken before.
I know. I can't believe it.
So who knows where this goes? Again, so the world knows I hate comments. You can go ahead and comment. I might post it, might not. Doesn't matter because I can't stand it.
Hello.
Yeah, why not? Might as well say hello. It doesn't mean I seem to like this better. I don't know why. I like the wide better. I feel like maybe I look skinnier if the screen's bigger. Maybe that's it. Any other way, I feel like I'm squeezed into.
So don't see my. There we go.
I feel like Tommy Boy, Fat Man in a Little Coat. I'm sitting here squeezing around trying to fit in a box.
No, this is good. We're not like mashed up like right in.
Right. It's a little bit more. Nobody has to look at my.
You know what? We can breathe.
Yes.
There's more breath room.
That's true. We hold space this way.
More
and really
space.
have space. It's awesome. So it is nice to finally have a conversation with you.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes because we just never know. I don't have a structure like Annie does, so you never know where it's going to go with me. And then it also depends on what the three kids do because that changes everything. Right. Because they run the show.
You never know what my personality is going to do. So.
Well, that's true too, right? And I have multiple too, so we'll just keep running with this.
All right. Well, partay, and it's my birthday. So.
Is it really? Today's your birthday? Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Happy birthday! That's fantastic.
I know.
I have never had a good birthday in my life until this year.
Oh, well, that's wonderful.
David. Okay, so I'm going to post David's comment.
Yeah,
I caught it at that moment.
I'm 52 today, and I'm grateful for another day, another year, because I didn't think I'd live till I didn't think I'd live to see 30, and when I was in my addiction.
Right. I mean, I always tried not to live till 21.
Right.
I mean, I started drinking at 9, so doing hardcore drugs at 12. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had no interest in living until 21. I OD'd 6 times in my teens. Actually, I started early at 12. I started ODing actually. I had no interest. I didn't want to be alive anymore. I had my first spiritual awakening and near-death experience when I was 4 years old. So all my spiritual gifts came into play at that time. Mm-hmm. And I had no human guide. So it was very difficult at 4 years old to understand what the world was just given to me.
Yeah.
And always feeling everybody else's emotions, healing people and not releasing it because I had no clue how to do that. So I was always taking things from people to heal them and then just retaining it for myself.
Yeah.
It was, and then being clairvoyant and seeing things and knowing when people were dying and talking to spirits. I was a crazy little 4-year-old, right? My parents brought me to therapist after therapist after therapist, psychiatrist, and then neurologist because they thought I was nuts.
Yeah, what's wrong with them, right?
Right, and that's when I started owning my title as an other, and then became a black sheep on purpose. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah,
I didn't know how to escape this purpose that was given to me at 4 years old, and I didn't know how to handle the gifts that were given to me.
Nor should you. I mean, no 4-year-old could possibly be able to grasp something like that.
I look at it, right, and what's really cool is it's now shown me how to teach my 4-year-old how to handle her gifts, right?
Yeah.
Because my 4-year-old is this tremendous little empath and soul healer. And when I'm on the phone with certain people that have childhood trauma around her age, she won't leave the phone until they confront their trauma. She will not walk away from the phone until they confront it. And once they do, she sends this big energy wave to them and then walks away. Like her job is done. And being in a position to allow that, right, and show her that it's accepted, is just so different than what I was used to, and how I was raised.
That's wonderful.
So, and it wasn't my parents' fault. They were just not open to that at all.
Yeah.
So I guess today's through. So I guess we can talk about through a little bit, right? So through, not around. You got to go through, not
loaded
around.
Word, through. What does that mean?
Through, not around. I mean, I don't know. I spent 41 years going around to everything. So this last 17 months has taught me nothing but how to go through. So when you think of through, like going through, right? Like not running from it, not hiding from it, not dipping into escapisms. Like, what does that mean to you? Like to go through?
For me, it's really because I was like you. I dodged, I ran, I stuffed, I dodged, I ran, I tap danced. And one of the biggest pieces that I ran from was my own power that I felt inside, and it scared the crap out of me because I didn't understand it. And so through is really for me no longer like looking at the concept of like, I like to use the word unmanageability. Like unmanageability is not external. It's not outside of us. Or right? It's not. It's all inside of us.
Yes.
And so it's really about turning away from looking to the external, looking at the external for answers, for solutions, for blaming, for any of that stuff, and being willing. Like willingness is a huge word when I think of through, to turn inward and be and get curious about what's going on inside, and that curiosity without judgment. And this has been a lifelong, decades of inner work for me. It's not like I just woke up one day and was like, oh, I'm going to get curious and I'm not going to judge myself for what I'm experiencing inside. Like, wait, like that's not it at all. Like taken years and years and years of inner work and spiritual work and growth and evolution and healing, right? To come to this realization for myself that, you know what, it's all good. And like, I was just having a conversation with somebody about, when something shows up for us, like we're triggered or something comes up again, something old that we thought we dealt with, we thought was healed. It comes up, it's coming up for us. It's not coming up like when we have like the self-doubt or, second guessing ourselves, or like low self-worth, like feeling, my big thing was like, I don't matter, I'm not enough. So when that kind of stuff comes up, it's not coming up to stop us, to block us, to hinder us. It's coming up to be healed.
Yes.
And so for me, that's really off the cuff what I would say, like the concept, like the experience, if you will, of going through is really seeing and understanding with the unmanageability, which I used to think was always around me because I thought everything outside of me just affected me. And I would be fine if just blah, 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 right?
Right.
And that's not it. It's our, when there's imbalances and when there's, when our thoughts and our emotions and our energy is all out of whack on the inside, like that's the unmanageability piece. And, but see, the good news is that that's the stuff that we can, I hate the word, but that's the stuff we can control.
Yes.
Like that's the stuff that we can take care of, if you will. I hate the word control. So that's that. I don't hate the word, but words are energy. This is the stuff that we can take care of.
It's the stuff that we can impact. It's the stuff that we can directly impact.
Yes.
Right? Directly impact internally that then we can reflect outwards.
Yes.
See, and I'm one of those controlling people that loves to control myself, which then in turn reflects outward So I'm
Mhm.
then controlling other people, which
Right.
it is not my intent ever, right? Because I'm just not
Right.
a controlling person in general. But what I've learned is, right, is I start controlling myself because I want to control my pain. I want to
Mm.
control what my pain tolerance is.
Mhm.
So then that goes from controlling pain tolerance to self sabotage
Mhm.
and then deflecting outward, right? So one reason I love having Annie in my life is because when we first met, she triggered me daily.
I
It was
remember hearing you
awesome.
say
It was
that. Yeah.
awesome. Triggered me daily, maybe multiple times a day. So now I've evolved to the point that she triggers me maybe every other day or every third day. So I know that I'm healing because
Mhm.
you know I'm
Can
healing
I ask
because
you a question about that? I'm
sure.
curious. Um, I'm sure that you've been triggered by other people in your life. What was it about? If she's triggering you every day, sometimes multiple times a day, what was it that about that connection that you had that you were able to be willing to stay for it?
We have a depth of a connection that's almost unexplainable. It's a soul level connection.
Kindred, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a soul level connection, and I mean, she's the closest person in the world to me. She just
Yeah.
is.
So you just
Um,
had like an inner knowing that
yeah,
it was okay and it was right.
and yeah, and I mean, I tell her this to her face on the phone all the time. I'm like, anyone else, I would have walked away already. Like,
Right.
it's because of the
Right.
connection that I keep coming back and learning and healing through it. And it's the
Yeah.
same for her because I've triggered her all the time
Beautiful.
too, right? I mean, I'm an
Yeah.
ass, so it's bound to happen.
Trigger
Like,
buddies.
right? So
Forget about accountability buddies.
right.
Let's
We're
sign
just
up for
we're
trigger
trigger
buddies.
buddies, and that's awesome, right? Like it's a new coined term now. We just keep coming up with these great words.
Yeah.
Um, but it's true though. Like we're just the closest people to each other, and we spend so
Yeah.
much time working and so much time as friends. And I
Yep.
know her kids, she knows my kids. That type of stuff. So it's
Yeah.
like it's this. Yeah, we're going to trigger each other, right? Like
Yeah.
we're both still on our healing journey. It's going to happen for the rest of
Yeah.
our lives.
Yep.
So I
And it's
look
coming up
forward.
for a reason, right? To be
Right.
healed.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, I'm at the point now where, I say, you just triggered me, give me a few minutes. And she'll be like, I'm sorry. And I'll be like, no, don't be sorry. This is what I need to
Right.
identify and understand, because I want to evolve through it. I want to grow through.
And it's so powerful, like what you're saying, because everything that we just talked about with like the whole through and going and unmanageability, not being external, when we're triggered, like we like to say somebody triggered me.
Yeah.
No, you're
No.
triggered right now,
Right.
but they're not necessarily responsible for that.
Not at all.
Right? You're
99.9% of the time.
responsible for that.
Right.
Right.
99.9% of the time, it's on us. It's bringing up something
Yes.
that we never dealt with, right?
Yeah.
And it could be even past lives. It could be karmic cycles.
Mhm.
It could be stuff from previous
Ancestral,
existence.
yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So to blame anyone for that is just
Mhm.
wrong, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's when she introduced me to Brene Brown and I started doing the blame, shame, and
Oh,
guilt work.
yeah.
That was the beginning of this really round of a healing journey, and I just went.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm isolated. Luckily, I have nobody around me. Luckily, I've been stranded here for 17 months. It gave me plenty of time to do nothing but work on myself, and plenty of
What
time
a
to
gift.
learn how to be with self. Right?
Yeah, but what a gift.
By far, this was the best experience of my life. Like
Mhm.
looking back, like we talk about this all the time, and it's like I never wanted my kids to ever go through something like this, but I would have never met her if they didn't.
Yeah.
Right? She wouldn't be in my life. I wouldn't be in hers.
Yeah.
If every event up to that point didn't happen the exact way that it did, who
Mhm.
knows if she would have ever reached out to me, because she reached out to me as a fluke because she was never on LinkedIn at that point.
Yeah.
Just something I said resonated. She reached out, disappeared for a couple months,
Yep.
and then it became an everyday friendship, right? And this
Yeah.
bond.
Trigger party.
And yeah, it has been. This 17 months truly has been. And
Amazing.
how we created the breath framework from it is really truly by just following our journey.
From your experience. Yeah.
Hi, Edgar. Yes, I'm
It
Annie
came from
tonight.
your lived experience,
It did.
your side by side lived experience together and individually and collectively,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
and there had to be that bond, because without that bond, we would have basically told
Mhm.
each other to f off a long time ago. I mean,
Right.
because we both, have a past of just when something is not right, we
Of
just
course.
run, right, or
Yep.
hide, or push away,
Mhm.
or and in
Not
this
deal,
case,
avoid.
right,
Avoid is a big one. Yeah.
in this case, we couldn't. We just couldn't. Something just kept bringing
Yeah.
us back. And I
My
thank
friend
God
in
we're in the
recovery has
universe.
she always says, my friend in recovery always says, screw you, many blessings.
Right.
So I made her a bumper sticker. I made her a bumper sticker and sent it to her.
See, that's awesome. You should hand those out. Like, you should bring them to meetings. I mean,
Screw you, many blessings. Like, screw
right,
you, comma, many blessings.
right. Like, I mean, I've been sober a little bit over 15 years, so it's it's crazy. Like,
Yeah,
the
I know.
stuff that the
I know
stuff that I
July is
made.
like,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say July is my annual like time to reflect because it's
Hmm.
not only my regular birthday, but it's my spiritual birth in recovery. Like I got
Okay.
sober in July.
Okay.
So the month is bookended for me. So it's always my month to go deep, go in, go
Right.
in
Right.
and do a lot of reflecting and yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting because at some point I stopped celebrating how long I've been sober. Like, to me, it's just a day, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I went through a rough spurt in June. Like, I had a really rough June where the
Mhm.
world was just swallowing me whole. And, like, on my sobriety date, my 15th birthday of sobriety, my 15th,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it, like, the neighbor offered me a drink and I almost said yes. Like,
Mm.
because I was just in a bad space. But that is what got me out of it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't me that said no, right? It was the universe,
Yeah.
like, pull your head out of your ass, you're about to lose your shit,
Yeah.
right? So it was, yes, Kenny, you
To be
trigger us
healed.
too. You trigger us too, Kenny. It's all you, Kenny. You're definitely the blame. You're
Who
not on,
killed Kenny?
yeah, right? You're not on Twitch tonight, so
Who
you're not as
triggered
bitchy.
Kenny? Wait, who triggered Kenny?
Who triggered Kenny? You should get a T-shirt and send it to him. You should get him a T-shirt and send it to him. He must be happy. He can watch tennis on the Olympics now. So he's probably watching tennis all day and all night. He loves watching tennis.
I know. Hey, Krista girl, I see you on there. Yeah.
It's just interesting, right? Like, we start taking certain things for granted at times, and I
Yeah.
think that's where sobriety gets dangerous, right? When you
Hmm.
start counting,
Complacency and yeah.
right? You start counting years. Oh, I can get through anything. Oh, I can overcome it, right? I
It's
can.
not true because the longer it's 27 years this month, but you know what? I am literally this far away from my next drink.
Yeah,
Like from here to here. Like
yeah,
I'm no different than anybody else. And
right.
something could go whoop and trigger me. I could be triggered and throw it all away,
Well,
in a
what's funny
moment.
is my first two sponsors relapsed within 6 months of working with me, so I didn't know if it was about me or them. I obviously took ownership of that. And then I went to what they used to call the big book Nazis, right? The ones that, like, lived by the big book, and that's actually
Hmm.
when I really did the work.
All the thumpers that can quote it and quote the big
Yeah,
book.
and it was a different way of doing it, but I like doing things the
Yeah,
hard way, right? Like, it was six five
of
subject
course you
notebooks, I
do.
think. Well, it was six five subject notebooks, and I attribute that to being the reason that it's worked, because I got so
Yeah.
much out of my system,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's
and just because we put the drink, drug, or whatever it is down, there's still work to do. And that's why the through is so effing important. Like,
yes,
you can't just expect that you stop drinking, you stop drugging, you stop stuffing your face with food and everything. I'm good now.
yeah.
It doesn't
I
work
mean,
that way. I mean, I'm like, I'm celebrating like, yeah, 27 years, but you know what? I just put sugar down. I'm in my fifth week. And sugar, with sexual abuse in my childhood, it was the first thing I picked up as a little girl to self-soothe. So, sugar I picked that up long before the alcohol or the other
right.
stuff. And so here I am. I've done all the work. I've done all decades of healing and inner work. But the wounded child in me there was so much pushback and resistance. I didn't want to let that go. And I'm keeping myself sick and stuck on
Hmm.
certain levels, the next level expansion for me spiritually and financially and all these things that I feel it's all here,
Hmm.
but it can't manifest and break through because I'm over here going like this, like,
Yeah.
fogging up my brain with the sugar. And so, I mean, I get it. It's healing is a journey, and the through is the ebb and the flow. It's the expansion and the contraction. There's seasons of expansion, then there's seasons of contraction, like what you experienced in June.
Right.
But you know what always comes after contraction? More expansion.
Right. We call it
You know?
we call it the transition period. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Charisse Fonts, but she's a good friend of mine, and I adore her. And she's a Abdullah. Is that right? Abdullah. I think Abdullah is what they're called. Helps
A
women
doula.
birth. Yeah, Abdullah.
Doula.
There you go. Yeah. I just
Doula.
add letters. I add letters, right? I add letters.
Doula. Yo, it's a
Right.
doula.
Well, it's the only thing I haven't experienced in life is physical childbirth. So anything other than that, I've pretty much experienced.
I had a doula.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
So whenever she sees me and I'm going through a transition, she's like, "You're back going through that childbirth again," and I'm like,
Birthing canal.
"Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, my head's going through that 10 centimeters." Like, I'm
my
just
shoulders
screwed.
are stuck. Man.
Yeah, I mean, this is what but it feels like it, right? Because when you're
like
stuck
this,
in it,
trying to come out.
but I'm telling you, when you're stuck in it, now we're getting visual. But when you're stuck in it, it's like this.
Sorry, guys.
It's what the pressure feels like, right? Like, that's the pressure. And you feel lost. You feel like, where are you? What is your purpose? Why am I here? And you question everything again. And then when you let it go and you just allow,
right?
Like overnight, it's like this whole big, like, I don't even know what the right word is, but it's like this new birth of self, right? Like this whole
renewal. Yeah.
It's the most beautiful experience ever.
It is.
Right now, I'm just hoping that it makes it through. Right now, I'm just hoping that it makes it through the court date in 7 days. Because if I'm going through a transition in the court date, that could be an issue.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's funny because I stayed sober 14 years before I did the emotional work. I didn't do a single drop of emotional work until last year.
Yeah.
And I never had that free and sober feeling, that sober and free, that free and clear that they talk about. They used to talk about being on cloud nine. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, life still sucks. Yeah. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, but life's still shit.
But that was me in my 11th year. My 11th year was my freaking miracle year because every day I wanted a bottle of pills and a bottle of booze and check me out. I'm done.
Right.
My husband left, I chose to plan a marriage, a wedding, instead of finishing my fourth and fifth and finishing the step work. I mean, come on, what seemed more fun, plan a wedding or finish my fourth and do my fifth? I don't know. Planning a wedding sounds fun. So, I went into that with all my baggage, yada, yada. And fast forward, everything fell apart. He left. I have a 2-year-old. And my whole life I built was like crumbled. My heart was shattered on the ground. And I'm like, I want to die.
Yeah.
11 years sober. But it was the catalyst for what you're talking about, where I had the gift of desperation on a new level because I wasn't enough.
What's funny is the stuff I've made it through sober without doing the emotional work had to be because of the universe, because there's no way I would have done that.
Totally.
Because I went through house fires. I went through having $62 million stolen from me by 2 different business partners over the course of 5 years. I went through working with the UNDP, working with 30 governments around the world, to losing all of that from a bad business partner. I went through so many ups and downs, and being married to a sociopath. So that helped too. I went through all of this sober before doing the emotional work.
Right.
My purpose has never been more clear in my life now that I've done emotional work, and I do it daily. It's like I said, I still get triggered, so I still do the work. As long as I'm getting triggered by something, I'm going to continue doing work. Yeah. So keep bringing the triggers on, and I'll just keep doing the work.
Yeah. I mean, that was me 11th year. And then I took another, my 19th year, when I had the deepest awakening I ever had at a spiritual retreat. And I was forever changed.
Yeah.
Forever changed. And I had a new level of freedom from bondage of self, and freedom from all the things they talk about that came through for me. And it was and the biggest thing, the biggest wake up call for me at that point was, and my friend who was 25 years sober at the time, we had the same experience. We were both like, how are we sober this long and still so freaking delusional and not know it?
Right. And it's funny because crazy. I said, the first time I woke up, I was 4, right? And I've been through many near-death experiences, many, strange occurrences that can't be explained. like so many off the wall, just nutty things. And I was always spiritual on some level. But what really did it for me, like, truthfully, I've never had an impetus waking me up like Annie. When she reached out to me the day before I got my kids, when it was one of my lowest moments in my life, because I was stranded in that town for 9 days waiting for the quarter to go through.
Yeah.
Within an hour of my kids, knowing what they were going through every day. And I felt so hopeless.
Yeah.
Like completely helpless, hopeless, powerless.
Yeah.
I was just stuck, and I was by myself in Arkansas. It was right before COVID started. And I'm sitting here and I'm just watching, and my business contracts were disappearing because COVID was just getting started to really make that impact. And like, as time went by, you know, all my contracts disappeared. And that was the financial test. And then it was the spiritual test. And then it was the emotional test. And, you know, it's like all the lessons, right? The constant lessons. And today I still have the constant lessons because, like I said, June was just a really rough month for me.
Yeah. And lessons are their opportunity. They're opportunities. They may not feel like it when we do it, but they're opportunities.
They are, and today I'm able to see that, right? Like that's the real beauty of it. Like today, it's like, oh, I'm getting kicked in the face again. But you know what? There's something to learn here. So it lessens the blow a little sometimes, depending on what the kick is, right? Because with the
and at least I can feel the pain when I get kicked.
Right.
There was a time I couldn't feel it, right? I wasn't present more. Right? Like I was way over there. I was disassociated. I was completely disassociated over there, not knowing what was going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was my favorite thing to do, was to hide behind people, right? Put myself in crowds, even sober. Go to bars, watch sports, even sober. Never drink, never use, but just hide behind people. Like I would hide behind crowds, and I would feel more alone in the crowd than I did anywhere else. But I never wanted to deal with self.
And that's energy. I mean, that's energy. You know, there's like the energy of the crowd, but then we separate ourselves, and then we're like, oh my God, I feel so alone.
Right. And it's
because we don't allow ourselves to blend and be part of that energy, that collective energy.
Yeah, I refuse that. After my childhood, I just couldn't allow myself to do it. And even now, like, I mean,
it's a trauma response.
Yes, 1,000,000%.
So many people, and this is why I do the work I do, the energy healing focused on the link between stored trauma in the body and chronic illness and disease, is because so many people are walking around living out the trauma response. Because people don't understand what a trauma response actually looks like. I mean, it's when you know, poor boundaries with people, you know, codependency, like all these things. It doesn't necessarily mean these extreme things that you think of when you hear the word trauma, you know, but so many people are living a trauma response because it's in their body, like their bodies are holding on to it.
So that brings up a question. Is there such a thing as healthy codependence? Or no? Or is it just or is interdependence really the only codependence that's healthy? Because interdependence just means that you're putting yourself first and that it interweaves with each other while working for yourself first. So is that the only way to actually have any codependent tendencies in a healthy way, or is there some type of codependency that is healthy?
But is interdependence really codependence?
I mean, you're still dependent.
Really goes hand in hand. But it goes hand in hand with like you losing yourself. You're putting somebody else's needs before your own. You're making yourself sick, trying to fix somebody else. Like, I don't know. Like I'm thinking about it, and my husband is so not codependent. Like he's so, and like I've been with him 14 years. And in the beginning, I would, not even realizing I was doing it, I would do my thing, cast the line.
Right.
And he was biting. And I'm over here like trying to reel him in. He's not biting. He's walking away. He's leaving the room. He's going. And I'm just like, what the? And then I'm like spiraling down, and, you know. And years later, we were having a conversation about codependency. And he's like, I was talking about how he's so not codependent. And I'm so not used to that. But it's a really good thing for me because you're not going to enable me. Right. And he's like, and then we got in this conversation. And at one point he was like, well, do you need me to be more codependent?
Right. Right. Do you want me to be codependent?
And I thought that was the funniest thing. So I'm like, do you realize how funny you are right now?
So, okay.
You need to be more codependent.
But, okay. So, see, I think there's a gray line there also. Because I think there are times in moments that we need to be dependent on somebody else. It doesn't mean
Well,
that we are
absolutely.
truly codependent, right? It means
Right.
that at those moments we show
What's different?
codependency. Well, for someone as sick as I am, maybe not, right? Like, I mean, keep in mind, I never knew the difference, right? Like, I didn't know what a boundary was. I didn't know what any of those things were up until the
Right.
last year. So year and a half.
Right.
So as I've been learning these things and learning what boundaries are, and learning my self-worth and my personal value and understanding what my personal
Yeah.
freedom is, right? Like, it's not
Yeah.
about, like, as I've learned these things, I do find that it's still hard at times to lean into somebody, right? Because now I want to be independent because I'm so used to being codependent that I'm scared
Yeah.
sometimes to lean into somebody else.
Right.
Because if I do, is that going to trigger me being codependent and then bring me back to that space and then like this is the inner mental spiral that I go into, right? Because I'm just a little crazier
Right.
than most. I overthink.
I think it's important to, really take into consideration when you're trying to keep it simple. First of all, like, let's keep this simple, but also, and this is just what's coming through for me, is like, it's really about, like, where are you in terms of like your own harmony with your own mind, body, spirit, your level of peace and serenity. What are you contributing to this relationship? What are your motives? Those types of things, because, I've clearly now I can feel when I'm sliding into that role, because that the codependency for me came from playing the victim for years. Granted,
Right.
I was a victim as a child,
Right.
but when I grew up, I wasn't a victim anymore. But God damn it, I insisted. My Oscar got lost in the mail because I
Right.
won an Oscar for playing the victim role. And
Well, I was
so
very good at both roles, right? Like the victim and the
yeah.
victimizer.
Mhm.
Because I was so used to playing the victim, I knew how to play the victimizer also. So I
Mhm.
would use being the
Yeah.
victim into victimizing somebody else and
Mhm.
manipulating them. Sorry to mean
Yeah,
to cut you off there.
absolutely. Playing the victim is absolutely manipulation.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. And you're also victimizing yourself. And it's interesting because that 11th year, when I did a 4-step and completed it, and the pattern I saw for myself with this stuff was, I'm playing the victim. Okay, so I play the victim. What is the payoff for me to be the victim? Because I couldn't see how I had an ego because I was a victim. I couldn't see it,
Right.
but that had ego written all over it. And the breakdown was, as long as I'm a victim, that means that I'm right. Because if I'm the victim, you wronged me, and that means I'm right, you're wrong, because I hated being wrong. So then it was like, okay, well, as long as I'm right, what's the payoff of being right? And it's like, well, if I'm right, then I'm in control, because then I get to decide if and when I'm going to forgive you. Right. So then we got to, okay, well, being in control, what's the payoff of that? Victim, right, control. And that was a tough one. And it took a bit. And then it finally broke through. It was like, so I can feel okay.
Mm-hmm. So
And
I
it
can
was
find
like,
that
what a
worth.
F up roundabout way of feeling okay, which
Yeah.
really brings us back to the through,
Right.
right? Like that was how I went around the through, was I'm going to put on this freaking dramatic, manipulative, like, victim thing. And so just so I can be right or think I'm right, just so I can feel in control, so I can feel okay, which really was feel safe, right? So, and that is a trauma response right there. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to call it, and I lived it for years and well into my recovery,
Yes.
not just when I was using, but
yeah.
into my
I mean,
recovery.
I lived it up until last year, right? Until I started really doing the Brene
Yeah.
Brown work. Like, I did the 4-step and I did it in complete detail, but I left out all the emotional stuff. Like, there was no emotions because I was a goldfish. Everything was numb. My whole life was numb.
Yeah.
So there was no emotions involved. I feel like you're on the phone. It's not only about partner, it's about every other human being alive. I mean, okay, even pets. I used to blame pets too.
Everything and everyone outside.
Right. Anything outside of myself, I would just point, right? It's about the accountability.
Yeah.
And this,
Absolutely.
it's, so what Annie and I did was, because I'm so over analytical, like, it's crazy. I spend so much of my energy being over analytical. We turned it into hyper acutely self-aware. So now I use it to stay within my core values every day. Right. So I turn that over analysis.
Yeah, because that's a mad skill. That's a mad skill you have.
It is, and I made it. We turned it into a positive
But
reframe
it's
for me.
shifting how you use it. It's
Yes.
shifting how you tap into it and for what good you're using it for.
Exactly, and that's what Annie and I did a few months ago. Like we really
Yeah.
flipped it on its side, right? That doesn't mean I still don't have moments where I break myself down a little bit, way too much, but I'm able to catch it now, right? Because if it's not directly attributed to why am I feeling this way or how is it taking me out of my core values, then that means that it's just me just beating myself up, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm really good at that.
Well,
So,
we're good at that.
oh, are we ever? Oh, yeah. Seriously.
Jinx, you owe me a seltzer. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Absolutely. Really
it's
good
amazing. It really is. Talk about your energy healing a little bit more, because you are a tremendous healer, and I want you to talk about it more.
Yeah, and this is the power that I was afraid of, and I didn't have words for it, but I always felt it since I would say my teenage years. And you know, basically God, I mean, I'm trying to do the short story. So October of 2019, I had a huge surrender. I bottomed out in another business I was in. I was miserable. And I finally surrendered. I said, you know what? You lead, I follow. I'm yours.
Right.
And all I knew at that time, the only intention and clarity I had was that I was going to return to my coaching roots. And because I was gifted in that. And, but the universe had slightly different plans for me. And I also had an experience at the same time where I was like, why? I was posing this question. I'm 50 years old at the time, and I've showed up for myself. I've done the work. I've gone in and through, right? Decades of this freaking healing work to heal the sexual trauma in my childhood, the addiction, 7 years living sick, disabled, homebound from MS and healing that. Like, I've done it. So why am I here at 50 years old, still walking around with this weighted ball of just agonizing sadness deep down in the core of my being?
Right.
That I just couldn't shake. And then that translated into what's wrong with me. And this is what I hear from people all the time. What's wrong with me? And so simultaneously, you know, the universe answered me on both accounts with my surrender and my question, and put energy guides and energy workers on my path. And the second one I worked with, it was like a soul's recognition, what she did with me. And my results were so profound. I was like, I'm supposed to do what you're doing. And so I asked her what it was. She wouldn't tell me. She wasn't forthcoming. So I'm resourceful. I went on Google. It took me a week, like searching keywords that she used during our sessions, and found it. And it's the emotion code, which is one of the different modalities I use. And so I am an emotional energetic healer, and I am all about releasing the trapped emotional energies in the body from stored trauma and past pains to release and untether you from those events. And so when I self-taught, I self-cleared myself, and then I got certified, and I started working with mostly women at the time, but now I work with women, children, men. And I saw the same results over and over again. And a lot of my clients are people who have the more severe sexual trauma in their past, and sexual assault and physical domestic violence and physical abuse. But it's also divorce and abandonment and betrayals and, you know, other things too, grief and loss. It works for everything. But I find my lived experience is when I woke up at 29 years old and my body went haywire, and I was slapped with the diagnosis of MS and lived very sick and disabled for 7 years until I turned that around.
Okay.
Did that just randomly happen? No. Like, looking back, I can see it was years of stored trauma in my body on a cellular level. It was stored in my body on an emotional suppression level. And then the addiction came into play, which caused more emotional suppression. And then there's energetic attachment. So there's 3 parts to the work that I do. And so is it any wonder at 29 years old, I woke up completely wrecked. It was a cry for help from my body.
Yeah.
My body was saying, we need help here, Jen. Like, and I was 4 years into my recovery. So like, I was just getting my feet on the ground when like the rug got yanked out from under me with the MS. And So that's my lived experience, and this is what I bring to people that I work with. And so my focus, and I'm out there talking about the energetics of self-healing as it relates to stored trauma in the body and its connection to autoimmune and chronic illness and disease, or dis-ease, as I like to say.
Yeah,
It's
I
very
mean,
powerful.
I have two autoimmunes, which obviously presented themselves for the same reasons, right? And I don't know if you know Jen's, and I'm working on healing them. So that's clearing every day. I clear out more and more, and every day it gets a little bit clearer. So, do you know Jenn Zahari?
Yeah.
You know Jenn Zahari or no?
Jen, who? You broke up.
Jenn Zahari.
I'm not sure. You both. Zahari?
Yeah.
I don't know if I do.
Okay,
Actually?
she ended up getting thyroid cancer because she always silenced herself. And then what she learned was by using her voice, you know, going through getting her thyroid removed, everything that she's gone through, and now by using her voice, it's all working itself out. And when you get to that point of
absolutely,
you acknowledge the energy at play and the energy blocks within your system and where it's getting blocked and what the cause is that it has on you. You know, 2 years ago, I could have swore I was having heart attacks every day because of the pressure in my chest, right? But my heart chakra was so shut, so closed to the world, that it was just creating this radiating pain through my body. I mean, I went through every cardiac test known to man at 40 years old, thinking I was dying of a heart attack. I'd never see my kids again because that was in the middle of me being 18 months separated from my kids. Like, it was in the middle of all this stress. And I really thought it was going to just take me out. Like, nothing's ever killed me before, but I really thought that was going to get me.
Emotional pain and emotional stress. Huge. And like, even like neuropathy pain in the body. Like my mother, I just did some clearing on her the other night. She's had all this neuropathy issues. And I was like, you know what, Mom, I want to connect to you and I want to see what's going on. My father died 3 years ago. They've been together since age 17. It was grief.
Yeah.
I cleared her on Sunday night and I talked to her on Monday and she goes, oh my God, my right, there's no neuropathy in my right foot, no pains in my legs today. Woke up the next day, same thing. Again, it's even better today. So I'm just going to keep clearing her. And I have a colleague also, I don't know if you know Beata Zidanowski, but she had suffered from like all over body neuropathy pain. And when COVID hit, pandemic shut down, she was in New York City. She took the time to go through, right? And she did emotional healing work. And now she's coming out of this experience so much better for her. Her neuropathy has dissolved like unbelievable.
When you,
so they're very much connected.
Susan has a question for you, by the way.
Oh.
Can you see it? Oh,
I don't have
yeah,
right there. I think you feel.
Oh, do you still have symptoms of MS?
Do I?
Yeah, that's her question.
I have. I don't identify with having MS anymore. Like, I don't have it. I never had it. I'm just going to be honest. Like, this is my truth. But I have a lot of damage because I was so sick for 7 years, like blind, paralysis, like nerve pains. I don't even want to go on and on because it's not my story, not my truth anymore. But it was a very dark time and it was taking me over and I was existing in a failing body at a very young age until I woke up at 36 and had a divine intervention and something moved and dropped in me a new truth. I call it, and this is what I teach and coach on, which is the power of decision, which is all about embodying a new unshakable truth that completely changes the trajectory of your life. And that day, something dropped in me, embodied, and it said, I'm done. I'm not living sick anymore. I'm going to get well. I had no clue how I was going to do it. And I always like to say this and tell people, you don't have to know the details. You don't have to know the how. You just have to decide.
Yeah.
And the decision isn't up here.
Right.
It's down here.
It's a soul decision.
This stuff comes after. You've got to decide. And yes, it's a soul decision that I'm done. And so breadcrumbs are thrown on my path. So all these years later, do I have symptoms? I'm going to say no. I have some residual damage that shows up. I do consider myself differently abled as a result, in the sense that I don't go to work and work a regular 9 to 5, 40-hour work week because every day is different for me because of all those years. And in all the years of healing, I didn't heal overnight. Like I took years to crawl out of that hole. So, but I don't identify with having it anymore. And I am now actually and very excited about this because I'm at a point where I am going to another level of expansion and healing for myself with the belief that I can heal the damage.
You can.
The damage can be healed. And
You can.
yes, and that's what it's all about. That's what I have a TV show, Genergy Vibes. That's what that's all about, leading people home to their innate ability to heal, their innate power to heal, because we all have it. We're all divine beings and we have power to heal. We just have to be open and willing to tap into it.
Did you ever watch the documentary Heal?
Do I what? No, you're breaking up.
Did you ever watch the documentary Heal?
I'm not sure. Something heal, I heard you say.
Okay, so there's a documentary on Amazon Prime. There's a documentary
called Heal, the documentary.
Yeah. Have you ever watched it? Oh my God, it's amazing. It's so awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
and I really connected with Anita, and I read her book, Dying to Be Me.
Yeah.
Do you remember her from that? She had the near-death experience.
Yes, she was the one that had is that the blonde that was at the beach that had cancer, went through chemo, died, and then came back? Or no, that was the other woman.
Yeah, she was stage 4 cancer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think she was from, was she from India or?
Yeah.
I mean, United States, but I don't know. But I read her book and it's the most profound near-death, like dying and coming back experience I've ever read. It was beautiful.
It's
and
amazing.
She came back and she was on her deathbed basically. And she came back and within the week she was cancer free. I mean, and that's an extreme example, but anybody, all of us there's nothing like I'm not different than anybody else. Like
she's the one that saw her father.
I don't know
on the
how
other
to word
side.
it. Like
she's the one that her father died at a young age, and she thought that he had a problem with her, and there was an issue there, and it was blocking her. She died, and then saw him on the other side, and felt unconditional love from him.
Yeah.
Felt accepted, and then came back and was healed. Okay. It takes me a few minutes.
And she wasn't. If you want to put it in the terms of let's put it in the terms of what you guys are all about, which is all about living from your soul center. She wasn't living from her soul center. She wasn't living her own truth.
Right.
She was trying to meet other people's standards and ideas and expectations. And is it any wonder she got sick and got cancer? Because she was stuffing her own power and her own truth.
Yes.
And that's why it was so profound. She died dying to be me.
Yeah. And that's why we want people to show people how to live in their soul center, right? Because when you start living from that place, all the other stuff naturally starts happening. It's not even, you start waking up naturally. I don't have to go tell people I want to wake you up, right? Because when you start living that way, you naturally move into that space. And it's amazing the results that we are seeing, and
there's flow. When you're in that place, you're not living from and in the resistance. You're living from and in the flow. And I'm not saying that you don't ebb and flow between the two.
Right.
But you get what I'm saying. Like, I used to live in the resistance, and guys, the pain is in the resistance. The real pain is in the freaking resistance. And when we let go and when we surrender, that's where the freedom is. That's where the freedom is. 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. A fair amount of detail.
David. What was David's last comment?
Yeah, Susan loves heal. I saw that too. Yeah.
Oh, no. Interdependence versus codependence. Okay. I guess that's what that's referring to. I guess. I've never read that.
Oh, Carl's here. Hi, Carl.
Yeah, Carl's here.
What's up, buddy?
He stopped by for a few. I don't know if he's still here, but he
We had a funny combo in Facebook Messenger. He I don't know, he butt dialed me or something. It was really funny.
He's an amazing guy. He's doing some amazing stuff, and it's awesome to watch.
I gotta connect with you, Carl.
It's awesome to watch so many people taking this path for themselves, right? Because that's what humanity needs right now.
And to witness it, like being a part of it and witnessing somebody else like coming home to themselves in a way they'd never experienced before.
Yeah.
There's no words.
No, it is the most beautiful experience ever to watch. To just sit
Mhm.
on the sidelines and watch.
Yeah.
It's just
I know.
amazing. It really is.
And
And
I have moments where I'm like, man, I get to wake up every day and do this. Like,
mhm,
I get to wake up every day and do this. I get to wake up every day and be this experience, right?
yeah.
Because it's not about doing anymore. It's about being
Well,
for me.
that's the
And that's
conversation
part of
that
the going inward and going through.
yeah, that's the conversation that Annie and I have all the time. Is I cannot believe that we're actually
Yeah.
doing this right now. We're making a living, and we are truly impacting people daily, and we are
Hmm.
changing their world, which then reflects outward to
Hmm.
everyone around them. And
Absolutely.
it's just this beautiful experience. It really is. And
Because you're taking people through.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Yep.
it's a lot of steps.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of hard work. It's not easy. It's the first thing we talk to people during the
Hmm.
consultation
No,
is
it's
it's
not.
this is you've got to have will and desire to overcome anything you have ever been through in your life because you're going to relive it all over again
Hmm.
on a deeper
Yeah.
level. On a deeper level. Do you believe in Reiki? Yes, I believe in
Yep.
Reiki.
No matter what. No
Susan
matter
wants to
what.
Susan wants to know if you believe in Reiki.
Yeah, I actually am trained in Reiki.
Yeah, I mean
Very
Reiki is just
It's very powerful.
it's a different type of energy work.
Yeah,
It's a
I
just
have training in different I have training in different energy healing modalities. And I used to be so because of my own self-worth issues, I used to so focus. I called myself the serial opter inner, where I needed one more webinar, one more class, one more course, one more book, one more certification to be good enough, to know enough before I could put myself out there.
right.
And so I've got a shit ton of certifications and training and education behind me. But like, I'm not saying I don't care about that, but like, I lead with me now. I lead with my gifts. I lead
Yeah.
with my truth. I lead with my lived experience because I don't have a doctor before my name or a PhD after it, but I have lived experience, right? And just like you and Annie, I've lived experience.
Yeah.
And so just like nobody can help me like another alcoholic or addict when it comes to my sobriety.
Right.
Nobody. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter what your education is or what's before or after your name. Nobody can help me like another drunk or another addict in
Yeah.
that area of my life. Just like nobody can understand or get sexual abuse in your childhood except somebody else who's lived it. Right.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, Reiki is very powerful. That was kind of a tangent off your question, Susan. Sorry, but Reiki is very, very, very powerful.
Susan said natural healer. I believe
Yeah, and again, it's
we're all natural healers.
we all are, all
Every
of
one of
us,
us. Every
every
single
single
one of us.
person on this planet.
Yep. We all
Absolutely,
have the ability.
we
It's whether we
all
can tap into it
possess the
and
innate
believe it.
power to heal. Right.
It's about
Yep.
following. It's about following our
Absolutely.
intuition.
Other thoughts.
Yep.
What's
There's
up, DJ?
DJ.
Yeah, our inner knowing.
It is. It's all
DJ, what's
about.
up, girl?
You know what the big difference for me was. What I realized over the past year and a half. Also, I'm so empathic, and I always allowed that to consume me above and beyond my own emotions. Right. Because I didn't want to live in my own, so it was easier to consume myself with everyone else's. And it was easier to help
Yeah,
everyone else if I didn't have to live in my own also. But what I
right.
really learned, is to allow my intuition to lead and my empathy to follow. And now my inner
Yeah,
knowings are stronger than ever.
right.
The convictions are
I love
stronger
that.
than
Yeah.
ever, and everything is truly just there now. So it
Yeah.
really is an amazing process, and
Inner knowing is such a, you want to talk about going through, like learning to listen and trust and follow your inner knowing, no matter what's going on, whatever the external resistance or influences around you. Like when I made that decision to go off all my medications and heal the MS, I had no support. My whole
right,
medical team was like all over me. My family was a mess, like, and it was all fear, but you're just going to get sicker. I'm like, what are you talking about? Right. I had this inner knowing that just woke up in me one day, and
right,
thank God I listened to it.
mm-hmm.
So and it's another huge piece of the work I do with people is teaching them and showing them how to listen to and trust and follow your inner knowing, and how important that is. That's a make or break deal when it comes to this type of work. When we want to self heal and lead ourselves out of the fog, you have to listen to that inner knowing.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's when you start listening to your inner knowings,
You're by yourself.
yeah, everything just starts making sense. And it doesn't make sense at first, but it falls in place. And it's just this magic.
Right.
That's when the magic starts. Because everything just starts aligning for you.
Yeah, and I'm laughing because like sometimes the more it doesn't make sense in the beginning, the more reason to follow it. Like, trust me when I say that.
Yes.
When mine's come through for me, there's been times when I'm like, are you sure? Because like, I don't know about that. Like, that's just not seeming right to me. But, you know, it turns out to be beautiful, you know. It's never steered me wrong. And the only times that it goes wrong is when I don't listen to it.
Definitely. Well, that was a quick hour. It flew. Our first conversation was very successful. I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. I would do it again.
Definitely. And we'll have to do it on the night that I'm hosting and Annie can fill in. See, this is how we're gonna do this now. So we're gonna just switch Tuesdays and Thursdays. This is how this is gonna work.
Migraine.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe she just wasn't in the mood for Genergy tonight. She's like, I'm just gonna tell him I have a migraine.
No, she had a rough day today. She did. When hers kick in, they kick in bad. I know. I felt bad for her.
I'm just teasing.
No, I really felt bad.
I didn't feel good today either.
Ironically, today was a great day for me. I don't know why. It's been a rough couple days as I get closer to court, right? Like, because the circumstance gets to me.
I'm gonna say there's a lot of moon energy going on too. There's been a ton of moon energy, and we've been slammed back to back for the last couple months of just moon.
Yes.
I have been feeling it big time. How about you? But like, I'm like, well, can we have a reprieve, please? We need a little moon reprieve.
Like, what are we going from Aquarius to something? It's like, it's too much. I can't. It makes no sense.
I'm done. Planet hopping with the moon energy. Yeah.
Bring me to a realm that's more user friendly, please.
Oh my God.
I want to go to a different realm. But no, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for being out there.
I want to go off.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for being out there, and have an amazing night.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody who showed up and for being here. I'll have to go back and circle through and say hi to people.
Yeah, I don't do that.